I'll wait for the chair whenever you guys are ready.
Brian.
Slow moving packet, give me a minute. I thought you just said my name like I was doing something wrong.
Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready?
No,
No? Okay.
let me get the paper out, hold
No,
on.
no problem. Just give me a thumbs up when you're ready.
Welcome to the Tuesday, August 13, 2019 meeting of the Long Meadow School Committee. This meeting is being recorded, aired live on LCTV, and live streamed on longmeadow.org. It is a legal requirement that anyone recording the meeting disclose that they are doing so. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The following correspondence will be recorded. Since I'm also clerk, I'll read that. An email from Mr. Chris Mazza, editor of the Long Meadow News, highlighting the changes to the Long Meadow News and the new ownership. Okay, the first thing on our agenda is the approval of minutes.
I move that the school committee approve the minutes to the July 16th, 2019 school committee meeting as presented.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motioned and seconded. All those in favor? Okay. Do we have any visitor comments? Just hanging out. No visitor comments. School committee announcements and recognitions. Nobody? All right. And we don't have any business with guests. So we will move to administrative reports. Dr. O'Shea?
Sure. So there's a written report that I provided you with. We are gearing up for the opening of school. The annual staff convocation is on Monday, the 26th. It begins at 8 o'clock in the Long Meadow High Auditorium. Chairman Ray has indicated that he'll be in attendance and he'll offer some opening thoughts, but we would welcome all of your attendance, understanding that you have busy schedules at that same time. And then we have a new staff orientation on Thursday, August 22nd. That begins at 8 o'clock. We'll start with some refreshments, so if anybody wants to swing by, you're welcome to at any point. In Dialogue, this is the online discussion platform that Town Moderator Townsend has introduced. So that is still on track. We have a meeting of the steering committee on the 14th. Susie is representing the school committee, and we'll keep you posted. We have offered some briefing materials that potentially could be used as part of the In Dialogue rollout. You'll recall that there was a decision to use the In Dialogue tool in association with conversations relating to our statements of interest on the two middle schools. So looking forward to meeting with Rebecca Townsend and the rest of the steering committee on the 14th. Digital citizenship, you'll recall back in May, maybe you had received an email from a concerned citizen about digital citizenship among Long Meadow youth. And so it's something that we're interested in sort of capturing the energy around that and kind of establishing a parent-led coalition to create a sort of a community-wide conversation on digital citizenship and how we can prepare kids to live in the high-tech world that they're in the middle of. We received very interesting news very recently that the Massachusetts School Building Authority will visit Long Meadow on October 15th as part of a senior study visit. And this is a visit by senior staff at the MSBA, by their architects and engineers, and they will essentially they'll want to tour both of our middle schools. we can't really look at this as a step in the approval process, but it's really just a step in their due diligence and in their effort to find out more about the buildings and the communities that have submitted statements of interest. Not every community gets a senior study visit, so in that sense, it's encouraging, but we shouldn't look at it as anything more than part of their due diligence.
Marty, can I just
Go ahead,
ask a
sure,
question?
yeah.
Have we had one before in the previous submissions?
We did,
Okay.
2 years ago, was it, or was it
was
last
last
year?
year.
Last year, yeah, so,
Okay.
so it's interesting that they're coming back.
Right.
I wouldn't want to read into that.
Right.
But it shows that they're paying attention at the very least, so.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we had our admin summer retreat in late June, just after the end of the school year. And it was a great time for us to get together in a relaxed setting at Bay Path University. We thank them for giving us some space, and it was a good time for us to connect on strategic planning and the next steps in our district improvement efforts. And then finally, wanted the committee to be aware that we continue to be in close communication with town officials, including Fire Chief Dearborn on the metering station. And we're very confident that they have our interests in mind and that we would be part of any planning in relation to the emergency management planning in relation to the metering station. So I spoke with the chief as recently as today, and so we feel like we're in a good place in good hands, I should say, with Chief Dearborn and other town officials. So that is all I have for you tonight.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
There's no, I'm sorry, question?
Is that okay?
Apologize, yep.
Can we just go back to the middle school statement of interest?
Sure, yeah.
Could you just talk to us a little bit about how engaged the town, the administration, the school committee is in this visit? What does it entail for members of the community?
They will want representation from the school committee. So I've already notified Chairman Ray, and if he's not available or if anybody else wants to join, you're certainly welcome. The town manager or interim town manager should be part of that process. And then, most importantly, they'll want to talk to people who are very familiar with the physical plant. So they'll want to talk to DPW officials who understand the workings of the building, and then the principals will be involved as well. It'll start with a kickoff meeting at Glenbrook of all the parties that are invited, and from there we'll tour the 2 middle schools. So it should be, it'll probably go 3 or 4 hours, I would say.
And how many folks will be there from those?
On their
school
side, last time I'd say they had a team of 5 maybe, but these are, again, they're senior level MSBA officials, and so, again, it shows that they're interested in our application. So. And I think, given that, I think using In Dialogue as a way to gather some feedback from the community on the future of our middle schools is really fortuitous. It'll work. I think those 2 things will fit in well together.
Good. Any other questions? Good. Okay, there's no school committee chair report. We do not have a student representative, so no report there, and no report from LPVC at this time. Finance sub?
We have not met.
Nothing from them. Policy sub has not met. Eval sub met before this meeting, where we briefly reviewed and were presented with Marty's plan, and that'll be coming to you all soon. So ongoing business, number 10. Use of FY19 end-of-year funds. Tom, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so you may recall back at the end of the school year, you guys authorized $48,000 for the Glenbrook switchgear, the electrical. We were anticipating that the cutoff from Eversource was going to happen yesterday, and that would allow us to determine whether it needed to be completely replaced or could be repaired at a lower cost than the $48,000. Unfortunately, Eversource had to delay it, so it's now scheduled till August 23rd. The hope was that we could, if it was not a complete replacement, that with the lower cost to just repair it, that some of those funds could be used towards one of the slides. It's a triple slide on the playscape at Center, has a crack in it about
Blueberry?
Blueberry has a half moon crack in it that is making it unusable for students. It's a safety issue. It's tried to be repaired, but it's a hard plastic, those polyurethane type slides. It is the original playscape from when the building was renovated, so I'd say it dates back to about 2001. So it is getting about to the end of its useful life. And there is a quote to replace it. So the crack is on the middle slide up at the top. Marty has a picture of it up there. You can see that it's unfortunately not something they're able to repair. So the cost would be $13,000 to replace the triple slide. Since the funds that I was hoping to have a clearer picture on are not available, I guess our option would be there is still some money left in the FY19 allocation. The quote that was received by DPW is dated before June 30th. And I spoke to Paul Pasterzik, who is okay with us using some of the funds we still have available in FY19 to replace the slide. So instead of utilizing the funds that we had already allocated like we were proposing or potentially going to propose, since that's not clear to us yet what the cost will be for Glenbrook, I think at this point the best solution would possibly be to just use some of the money that is currently identified as being available in FY19 for this slide replacement. I do think a capital request will have to be put in at some point in the next few years to replace the playscape in its entirety. As you know, right now it's in good shape, but I'd say sometime within the next 5 years it'll probably have to be replaced.
Any questions?
Yeah, is it something where so 13,000 to repair it or to replace it?
To replace it, they don't believe, because it's the way it's connected, you can't just replace the middle slide. It's
can't,
all
okay.
one unit.
Okay.
You can't separate them from the two side slides. It has to be all or nothing. Like I said, they did try to go out there and try to melt it and mesh the plastic, but it's just not something that they're able to do.
And does the 13,000 include like the installation and the labor to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I actually believe our guys would be able to install it.
Okay.
I think it's just the purchase of the slide. And our guys, the maintenance would be responsible for installing it because it'll go right onto the existing apparatus and supports.
Yeah, so the supports wouldn't be, it's just the plastic.
Just the plastic slide itself.
And what if
And
they,
that does-
oh,
go
sorry,
ahead.
Susie.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just thinking, what if they wanted to could they use that money for swings instead of replacing the slide?
And remove that altogether?
Yeah.
It could. It won't be done in a timely manner. We would have to identify, get them installed and all that. I don't know what the price is for swings these days. I know it is something Blueberry, the principal of Blueberry, has inquired about
Yeah.
a couple of times, so.
That's what I was
There's a lot of
thinking.
kids who want swings
Yes.
there.
And have to figure out a way to close off the
Yeah.
hole in the
They would have to
playscape.
barricade the top part of that
Yes,
portion
Otherwise
of
it would be a
the,
new jump.
yes.
yes.
Oh,
Certainly.
they take like
Yeah, swings are not.
the whole thing would stay, but the slide would
Yeah.
come out.
Yes.
So I have a question. Considering that this has been in place, you think, for like 17, 18 years?
I think since the building was renovated, yeah, I do think
So,
it goes back to about 01.
If 13 grand for slides seems like a lot, so would they be able to be used when you think a few years from now the entire thing gets redone, or what? It's hard to plan
I
that.
would like to say yes, but
It's hard to tell.
it's hard to tell, and
Yeah.
again, because of the age of this, and when you go to replace them, to have it fit, unless you're replacing with the exact same structure,
Right.
the probability is not very good.
They won't ever guarantee or warranty
Right.
a
I'm
structure
not-
like that.
Unless
I want to
it's
tell them to
brand
guarantee it.
But that's the challenge,
Yeah.
is that, the integrity of the structure is
Yep.
compromised if you're trying to cob job,
Yeah,
put
I agree.
things together.
How much
Yeah.
would a whole new structure cost?
I'm going to say it's going to be upwards of $150,000 to $200,000. They're very expensive. We did one over at Center not that long ago, and I want to say that was somewhere in the $50,000 to $60,000. We did a preschool one at Wolf Swamp a few years ago, and that was in the 30 to 40 range.
Just so much money.
It is a lot of money.
So much money.
Get a lot of enjoyment though
Yeah.
on the playscapes.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
So if we were to agree to this, you're looking for someone who would We'd have to make a motion to spend the 13G on a slide.
Out
Anyone?
of FY '19 is the
Correct.
recommendation.
So, yeah, Susie's really good at phrasing those, if she's interested. Anybody else have any other questions or thoughts on that you want to share?
Just final question. So again,
Please.
this really now has nothing to do with the gear switch. That is a completely separate issue.
It is. The
Okay.
goal was, I was hoping I'd be able to come
Right.
back to you tonight
Yeah.
and say, oh, it needs to be repaired and it's only gonna cost 20,000. You authorized 48,
Yeah.
so I would like you just to reappropriate some of the
Yeah.
balance towards this. But because I don't have that information to give you tonight, unfortunately, we still have to leave that 48 designated
Yeah.
for Glenbrook.
So should that happen, as you expect, what would happen with the
The balance,
balance, yeah?
so that money right now is sitting on an encumbrance that if it's not spent, we would release, but it's no longer in the general fund because they closed the fiscal year or are about to
Right.
for encumbrances. So that money would then end up in our school choice fund, the balance.
Okay.
If we know soon enough, we could reduce the encumbrance for Glenbrook by the 13,000, wait and see what happens, and then increase that so long as they don't close the window for FY19 encumbrances. But because it's not until the 23rd, I don't know their final date for FY19 encumbrances.
Do they have an idea as to when this would be?
I didn't ask.
Yeah.
I didn't.
I'm
I have
sure
no
it's
idea
not-
the lead time. It's
definitely
not going to be.
for those
It will
times.
not be for August 29th.
Right. So
Hopefully-
Amy's plan would be to just close that off for,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
So kids
Yeah.
couldn't use the other two slides, or how
If we
would
could
that work?
safely close off the damaged slide, the damaged lane, we would do that, but
Okay.
who knows, it may be that you just need to,
It may be
Cordon it all
structurally
off, yeah,
compromised,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Did it happen this summer?
Yeah, I believe it came right at the end of the school year. It started to wear and crack, so I don't know if it's the sun beating on it, you know.
The sun does beat.
Yeah.
You can see it's.
yeah, you look at the
faded.
wear pattern on it. you
The
can see that
circles kind
yeah.
of,
Yeah. All right, should I make the motion? I move that the school committee approve $13,040.44 out of remaining FY19 funds to replace the triple slide at Blueberry Hill School. That's sufficient?
That's a motion? Seconded. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, call for a vote. Spend the money on the slide.
All in favor?
I'm sorry, all in favor, my bad. All in favor.
Do you want discussion?
One more
Still want
discussion?
I'm still trying to figure out like the timing of it, like either way it's gonna be, either way we're gonna have to make it safe.
Mhm.
So I guess I'm just, need a little more information on how it's gonna be made safe before we say we're gonna give, I don't know if I'm.
my guess would be
articulating,
they'll
it's
put
just-
some kind of partition up at the top and the slide itself. All three lanes will not be accessible until it gets replaced.
Okay.
I
and
don't
then-
know that there's any way that they can just cordon off that middle section. There's
Yeah.
no supports in order to put up a piece of plywood to attach it to something to keep it from
Right.
preventing students or anybody from going down it. So my guess will be that they'll have something completely across that.
Okay, and who does that? Because I'm just thinking like.
DPW would be,
Okay.
maintenance would be responsible.
I feel like they did that at Center when one of the slides was
Yes.
vandalized years ago.
Yes, I agree.
And that'll be obviously
Yeah.
up to code and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. Yep. Probably be the height of the railing around the top of that platform.
Okay, so all the other stuff will be taken care of, and then the money's just the money factor.
Yep.
Okay.
And maybe, I mean, kids do also climb up slides, so,
They do climb up slides.
True. You do?
so maybe some caution tape.
Yeah, we can put some caution tape down from the
Yeah.
poles to the bottom and across and back up.
Yeah.
Won't keep them from going up it.
No, it
but-
won't. Hopefully it will do some sort of deterrent. Yeah.
So I hope I didn't mess that up, but do we vote again, or do I just vote now?
I don't think I ended
don't
the
think we-
votes in favor yet. Are you voting in favor, or are you going to vote differently? You don't know?
That's like an
Any
unfair
votes against
question.
or abstaining? Nope.
No.
So, oh, we can't have a 3, can we? Can we have a 3 out of 4?
It's a
It's
majority.
Or present, it's a majority of present,
Yeah.
so it would pass, yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
You wanna,
What was your
Go
So
ahead.
yes.
Unless we want
So
to go
she's
back and
already-
vote
Oh, so it's
yes?
4 out of 4,
Yeah.
okay.
Should we redo the vote? Just to
say
be
all in
clear?
favor again.
All right.
Okay.
Can we read?
Do we have to read it
Sorry,
over
guys.
again?
I move that the school committee approve $13,040.44 out of remaining fiscal year 19 funds to replace the triple slide at Blueberry Hill School.
Second.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? There we go. Next business is the food service contract renewal. Tom?
So our current vendor, the contract we have is a 1-year contract, and it allows for 4 renewal years. We would be, if you authorize the approval for tonight, would be year 2 of that 5-year cycle. After 5 years, you're required to go out to bid to solicit new bids from companies to provide your food service program operation. So what I handed out and Marty is displaying are just some financial and participation information of the program for the last 5 years, showing both the number of meals or meal equivalents, which would be the sales for a la carte catering or adult meals. We convert them into what we would call equivalent meals. And so there was about a 8.5% increase in FY19 above the previous year's participation, which is pretty good growth, especially looking at the last few years where we've been pretty stagnant or seen some slight decreases. Additionally, on the lower section where there's a summary of the revenue and expenses of the program, you can see that in FY19 it was the lowest loss that the program has had, not only in the last 5 years, I would say, in probably the last 10 years. So I think some of the increase in participation, the new offerings that this company is providing are helping at least move us in the right direction. I've been pretty satisfied with what I've seen this year so far, this past year, and hopefully they'll build on that going into FY20. So you have in front of you tonight is a contract amendment that it's amendment number 2, basically approving the continued operations of cafe services / Fresh Picks to manage our food service program for the 1920 school year. And then there's just a few modifications in terms of the subsidy, the administrative and management fee at 25 cents per meal staying the same as it was in FY19, and the conversion rate is in the agreed not to exceed price per meal are the same as they were in 18 and 19. So, and then also are the exhibits associated, which has their budget, their proposed budget that they anticipate for FY20, which is showing an anticipated loss at the end of FY20 of just under $9,979, which is about where we finished FY19. And then their pricing for the meals and all of that are the same. We did not come back. School committee has controls what we charge for meals. So we are proposing that prices stay the same for all 3 levels for next year.
You may have said this, Tom. The food service contract is reviewed by the Department of Education and
Yes,
Yeah.
one of the pieces that's kind of delayed this was we have to submit it to the Department of Ed, DESE, for them to review. They sent us back a letter saying that it's, all the documents are acceptable and you can proceed with executing the amendment as presented. So I do have that letter from them.
Can I ask some perhaps silly or naive questions?
Sure.
They're presenting a budget that comes in at a $10,000 loss.
Mhm.
That seems odd to me. Can you explain?
Yeah.
I mean, just looking at these numbers, it just seems strange.
Yeah, the question would be really if, we don't want to increase prices. We want to maintain a reasonable program that provides it at an affordable cost. Not only in terms of the meals, but also the a la carte items that we sell. So historically, the district has put in a subsidy. Prior to 15, it was even much higher than the 25 to 30,000 it has been the last couple of years. So based on the staffing levels that we have, based on the prices that we are comfortable with in terms of currently charging, they're projecting that we will have about a $10,000 deficit. We might not. If participation continues to grow, it may reduce the actual operating deficit. I would say there are additional expenses outside of this that the district is responsible for, like buying any equipment, repairing any equipment, paying meals tax. So those are expenses the district already incurs that are above and beyond what they're proposing to run the program, because all of the equipment belongs to the district. So we could, if we wanted to, agree to increase the prices to reduce the deficit. I think the feeling has been to try to maintain them so that it doesn't become too costly to purchase a school lunch.
And again, maybe this is just me, but if we raised everything by 25 cents, the highest price lunch is $3.50.
Correct.
That seems like a pretty reasonable price for, like, again, and I don't have any history, like, how long have the prices been this? Why is an adult lunch $3.50 and not $4? Again, I'm just asking questions because
sure.
I'm new to all of this.
I would say this past year is probably the third year the prices have been where they are. Every year you're required to do a calculation to ensure that you're charging what is equal to the reimbursement that you receive from the government for a free meal. So they make you do this price equity tool calculation to ensure that your prices are set at a level that you're not subsidizing your paid meals with the money you're receiving from the
Sure.
free meals. So I would say next year we probably will be in a position where we'll have to look at doing some sort of increase. We've usually done 25-cent increments just because it's easier than coming back and doing a dime or 15 cents every year, and it usually gets us to 2 or 3 years worth. So we didn't talk about increasing it because it wasn't required and because the deficit has been lower. I didn't think there was much of an appetite to increase prices, being that the deficit's been coming down and didn't appear to be really moving from where it was this year. We have money budgeted in FY20 that would support that amount, assuming, and what happens is anything above the 9,900 that's in the amendment would be covered by the company. So if the deficit happened to be 20,000, the district is only responsible for the subsidy of the 99.59 that's in the amendment.
Do they, since increasing participation would be a good thing for everybody, do they get feedback from the students on what they'd be interested in and would make them more likely to buy the lunch?
Yeah, I mean, we've strongly encouraged Mary to go meet with the Student Advisory Council at the high school, hear their feedback, to be visible in the cafeterias, talking to students, what do they like. We think that there is opportunity to improve communication with families around marketing of the program, making sure that they understand what's being offered, making sure they understand the menus, using simple language without getting too fancy on describing what the meal of the day is. There's been some feedback that maybe the elementary schools have too many offerings for choices that can slow the line down. So we try to work through food service advisory that has some parents, administrators, when we meet to get feedback in terms of the operation of the program. But obviously your customer, their feedback is the most important because they're the ones you want to maintain that relationship. You want to keep them coming back. So yes, increasing participation, I think, not only by what you offer, getting them through the line quick, making sure kids have a seat with their friends is very important, and they don't want to be standing in line for 10 minutes waiting to get a lunch. So they can reduce that number of brown baggers, most certainly would help.
And Tom, is there any evidence that they're following through on like the feedback? Like we can go out and do surveys all we want, but if they're not, you know, because it's expensive, you know, kids don't like when it's mushy or when it's, you know, there's a lot of different
Yeah, I mean, I would,
things that kids don't want.
yeah, I think the increase in participation shows that they're responsive, changing up the menu items, making sure that the offerings they have are what students want, especially at the upper levels. I think, you know, some of the decisions for some of the elementary level students are made before they get to school. I think for the upper level, it might be when they get to school and see what's being offered that day and how it looks,
Okay.
and decide whether or not they want to get a lunch instead of, you know, brown bagging it. But I do think that they've been responsive. I do think they do take the feedback and try to make adjustments.
Okay. Thank you.
It's really to their detriment if they don't. Right?
Yes.
It's their sales would
Yeah.
decline, and
And since they have a subsidy amount that if the deficit exceeds it, then they're on the hook for anything above that. So even though in an FY19, the subsidy was really like 6,200, so they had to put in the difference between the 95 loss and the 62 amount that was in the original contract.
So if it's a good year and they break even, do we still give them 9,900?
No.
Okay.
No. So if by the end of the year it's zero, it meant the money we had budgeted to subsidize the 9,900, we wouldn't necessarily have to spend it for those,
Okay.
for the program.
So we're
It would
not on
stay
the
in our
hook for
budget.
that money.
It's not a guarantee.
Right,
It's
okay.
only if we hit that,
Got it.
a loss of that amount or
So
up to that.
so
amount.
we will give them a maximum of that, but
Maximum
not
of that.
necessarily that.
Correct.
Good.
All right. I move that the school committee renew the contract with Fresh Picks Cafe, a division of cafe services for the 2019-2020 school year as presented, and authorize the chair to sign on behalf of the school committee.
So motion, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded. Any questions or comments?
Does the word "on" have to be removed, Diane? So
It does.
Do you have to say?
Move on that, though? That's, I'm sorry, grammatically, it doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
There's just an extra one. I just
Yeah.
omitted the word, yeah.
But do you have to say as amended or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
No, how she read it, I think, is what counts, right?
That is what's, yeah, logged.
Thank you.
So we're good on comments or questions? All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
There's an executive session planned for this meeting.
I move that the school committee meet in executive session pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Purpose, 3, to discuss strategy in relation to pending litigation, and Purpose, 7, consideration of release of executive session minutes from previous meetings, not to reconvene into open session.
So motion, is there a second?
Second.
This motion requires a roll call vote. Gianna?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Susie?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much.